Welcome, Johny.
Hello, everyone. Sound good?
Hello.
Everyone can hear me? All right.
Yes, of course, we can hear you. How are you?
I'm all right. All right. Thank you. I'm quite excited.
Great.
This looks good. So yeah, I think it's high time, right? So let me start sharing then.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Right.
And
okay.
we will talk about how do Czech companies discover AI. And
All right. So seems that we should be ready and present. So Betu, everything?
Yeah, everything is
okay?
perfect. Yes.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much. Yes. Today the topic is how Czech companies are discovering AI, right? So the idea behind this talk was to really kind of demonstrate something a bit more from the practice and a bit of the history of how the Czech Republic is increasingly, adopting AI and what has been done in these circumstances to make basically the country, from my perspective right now, quite successful in this area. Right. So for those who don't know my company, and I'm probably sure you don't, in Turkey at least too much, we're called Gauss Algorithmic. We are actually a 9-year-old company, and we've been fighting with AI since 2013, right? And during that time, Gauss Algorithmic has been fortunate enough to work with some of the world's largest brands on AI projects. We are now in over 8 countries and in 12 industries, right, which is very interesting. And this increase has been something more of a latelier term than back in the past. But if we, talk about Czech companies, right, and how Czech companies are increasing, so we have to look back a bit into the history back in 2016, right? So selling AI in 2016 wasn't easy. Gradually, people were trying to understand what this, I would say, revolutionary technology can do for their organizations and their businesses. But we were actually, as a company, more lucky outside of the country than inside. So in countries like Austria, in countries like Switzerland, Germany, Gauss Algorithmic was doing quite well with AI projects, and we actually received also for our projects certain awards. But going back home into the Czech Republic back in 2016 kind of looked like this, right? So the situation wasn't great, and one would wonder, what was the main difference, right? Because if you take Austria and Czech Republic, they're actually neighboring countries, and Austria, from that perspective, I would say was a bit further ahead than us, right? So what's the situation in these days? Since 2020, in our company, we've increased the amount of Czech companies by 4x, right? And again, one would wonder, what happened? What has changed? What's so different right now opposed to 2016, right? So we have to look at certain aspects of this problem and where it leads to. But just to give you a few examples of companies and how they've been doing well from recent years, we've got companies large and small going into AI. This company, which is called Vitadio, they actually came to us with a pretty decent knowledge of what AI is and what they want to do with that. They provide an application for people with type 2 diabetes, and part of that application is also for the people who are using this app, tracking their meals. Now, they understood very early on that it's not a great experience when people have to enter a large form and enter the details of what they eat basically 3-4 times a day, right? So, they thought, can we use the images of the food which people are taking anyway? So we created this food recognition app, which has pretty high accuracy for about 150 labels right now, right? And the impact on a project like this has been amazing, not just for the fact that it helps people with medical disabilities, but also with the fact that, you know, it's just blown up for them, right? So opposed to what they had before, we are now receiving daily over 1,000 images, right, from the people using the app, right? And it's only been launched in the Czech Republic, and coming early next year, they're planning to launch this also in Germany, which would have a much higher uptake, right? So it's an amazing story. Another great story, which you know we like to share, is also health related, but this company provides an application for people who are, let's say, semi-pro to pro athletes, and they use basically a hardware chest strap to monitor something which is called a heart rate variability, right? Now, interestingly enough, this company came to us in a situation where they had kind of, let's say, a hunch that, you know, they can do something with AI, but they weren't sure what it would be, right? And when we asked them, you know, how they came to this conclusion, right? It said, you know, kind of, we see it all around us. We see companies doing it. We see it on conferences. So we said, you know, let's have a look at this opportunity and do something about that. And with our help, we eventually, you know, provided a first project for them, which is basically, we made the user experience better by shortening the time it actually takes to get a quality measurement out. So before it was actually just 15 minutes, but right now we using some pretty standard machine learning models decreased the measurement time to about 3, right? Which is an amazing achievement. But again, what it did to them for the long term is that, you know, they had now a massive increase in their user base, right? Just in a year, they grew from 250 users to about 29,000 active daily users, right? Which is quite a large jump if you consider that, you know, it's an app which is basically just starting out in a single country. So again, these success stories, you know, fuel more innovation into the country. But again, to answer the question, what is it that, you know, has changed since 2016? So we personally see 3 key differentiators from now opposed to that time before. So the first thing we've noticed which has changed is education, right? We as a company have invested in a lot of educational opportunities, right? And for most of these opportunities, we've never asked anything back. But we understood that if you provide information to the general public in the right way, so they understand the difference between the hype and non-hype, then, you know, the whole market or the whole industry grows with that, right? And the funny thing is that it's not just us, but it's also other companies and other organizations and also universities who are contributing to these educational factors, right? So a higher educated, let's say, set of organizations in the country will better understand what are the capabilities. And essentially, you know, everyone who we educated is not our customer, but, you know, maybe it's someone, maybe it's even our competitor's customer, but that doesn't matter, right? It's mostly about the fact that you give basic guidance to the people who can take best advantage of that technology, right? Reason number 2, ecosystem. Now, it took me a while before I realized that this is an extremely important part contributing to the success of many companies, including ours. Ecosystem has, for instance, in our case, led us to some of our biggest clients, right? So if we look at ourselves, then, you know, Zentiva is one of the largest pharma companies in Europe. And the connection to Zentiva came through Prague AI, as well as Lectura is a company who's a leading provider of information on heavy equipment and heavy machinery. And again, it was a connection through Brno AI. So there are government-funded organizations which very well contribute to the fact that they connect companies, they connect academia, and they connect basically the government sector. And this essentially does play a large role in the growth of that country's initiatives for AI, right? And reason number 3, which I believe is also very important, and maybe not so many people have noticed, is economy. Now, back in 2016, we had quite some interesting use cases, but there were a lot of situations where simply the use case was just not economically valuable, right? It actually paid off maybe to hire 2 or 3 people to do the job, and you just couldn't convince companies, to try something new, because the easy way is, let's just hire some people and let's do it the old way, because this computer vision system is going to cost us, twice as much money, right? But now I think the thinking has changed behind that, and it's also fueled by the fact that things are, in terms of artificial intelligence, becoming a lot more cheaper. Right. If you've managed to read this year's study, which is called the AI Index, which is produced by Stanford University every year, then I found an interesting insight there. Is that since 2018, the cost to train an image classification system has decreased by 63.6%. While training times have improved by 94.4%. Now, this is for my case a staggering number, because it just shows like real progression of the technology and the whole industry. And as we foresee it, I don't think it's going to be any slower. And I think the adoption, also with new hardware technologies and things that are coming out from various research departments, is going to make these numbers even better. So at the end of the day, you can now provide solutions which are much more affordable and make for these companies economical sense. So these 3 things in combination, I believe, contribute to the success from a perspective of a country as a whole, right? And if we want to continue in this fashion, or if other countries, including Turkey, want to increase their AI adoption, I think these are the 3 most valuable things that you need to consider when starting these initiatives. And definitely, as a company within this ecosystem, I can confirm that Gauss has benefited very much from these three factors playing together. Now, while we are increasing our adoption in the Czech Republic, I'm also very interested in expanding into other countries, right? So my motivation to have this talk today with you guys is that, initially we'd love to hear your stories. At the same time, we'd love to share more of our stories, or stories of customers. And primarily, this event for us is more about experience, knowledge exchange, and how we can potentially collaborate together and make AI or help AI really reach its true potential, right? So thank you very much for your attention. I think I'm still within time, if I'm still correct. And
I was going to thank you, and I can say that there was a similar story for Turkish AI ecosystem as well. We established in 2017, and when we first shared AI startup map, there were only 24 AI startups, and right now it is 275. And
Nice.
I definitely agree your points about the education, economy, and also the data is expanded a lot for the last couple of years. So there is a product market fit right now for the AI startups to expand in both local and also global markets. And it was a great presentation.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you very much for organizing an event, and also thank you to the Czech organizations, Mr. Daněk, Brno AI, everyone for getting us here and having the opportunities to share our story. Thank you.
So I guess we will keep in touch for the next events and projects. And I will continue with the next session. Thank you. Johny,
thank you.
Bye.